Hello everyone and welcome to this Adobe Photoshop tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to work with the layers panel in Adobe Photoshop. Alright, so we have an image over here and it basically says layer 0. Now, any image that you import in Photoshop by default is going to be the background layer. In order for you to remove that background lock, just hold on the Alt key and click on it 2 times. Or what you can do is you can just click on it 2 times. It's going to come like a dialog box is going to pop up. Just click OK and you're going to get to layer 0. So this is your layer 0. This is what I have done right now. And the way the layers panel work in Adobe Photoshop is it follows a hierarchy. So let me just import a few more images so you can understand as to what I'm talking about. So I have this another image. I'm going to take this and drop it into Adobe Photoshop. I'm going to do a double click and superb. So we have imported 2 images, but you can see that right now my first image, the second image that I imported into Photoshop is blocking my view for the first image. So that basically means that whichever layer is on top is basically going to hide whatever is below it. Alright, that's I think simple enough to understand. Then awesome people, and yeah, basically you can see that the image was a small one, so it cannot hide the other part of the image, and therefore we can see our previous layer. It's a good habit to name layers. So just to name something, just do a double click and you can give it a name, like say layer 1. Usually when I'm working on projects, it doesn't matter what kind of project, whether it's a graphic design project, a matte painting project, photo manipulations. I never really name my layers layer 0 or layer 1. I always give them proper names like say hair removal. I do a lot of masking work. Hue and saturation, or say color correction, like this, or say corrected or tilted. A few examples as to how you can name your layers. But then again, never leave them layer 1 or layer 0. This can get confusing because I'm sure that when you become master of Photoshop, which I'm sure you will become, you're going to be working with a lot of different kind of files and a lot of layers. So your layers panel is going to have like 50, 60, 100, 200 layers. I've worked on projects where I have had like more than 200 layers. So it's never a good idea to just keep your layers like that. Always give them a proper name. And that's basically that's the basics of layers. Now when you have a layer selected, that layer is going to be affected. So you can basically move it around. If you have your selection tool selected, you can move it around. Or you have a few options over here like the fill and opacity. And you have a drop down. This is very, very important. This is basically the different blend modes. We'll get to this later. The other thing is opacity. If you click on this, you can reduce the opacity of a layer and basically it's going to get see-through. So this is like used in advertisements, movies, and this is like a very basic masking effect. You just bring down the opacity and that's how much of the layer is going to be visible. There are keyboard shortcuts for this. If you hit the 2 key on the keyboard, now make sure that your layer is selected. If you want to change the opacity of layer 0 and you have layer 1 selected, that's not going to happen. You're going to be changing the opacity of layer 1. If you want layer 0 to be affected, you click on that and then you make your keyboard shortcut changes. So if I hit the 5 key, 50% of it is visible now. If I hit the 0 key, 100% is visible, and so on. So basically 1 is for 10, 5 50, 4 40, and if I click 2 numbers very quickly like 45, I'm going to get that. So this is a great way of adjusting and creating some very basic visual effects. Not exactly visual effects, but doing some very basic image editing in Adobe Photoshop. Now there are some different kinds of layers, like we have adjustment layers. I've talked about this in my previous episode. So if I go over here to this coin, like I can click on that, you're gonna see that these are different visual effects and special effects layers. Like for example, we have curves over here. This helps us in color correcting our images like this. You see that? Then we have, and that's basically how layers work. So again, something that's on top is going to affect everything that's below it in some way or another. So this layer is blocking the view of my layer 0. The adjustment layers are going to affect everything that is going to be below them. So that's one thing. Now when you're working with 100 200 layers, you're going to have to name them properly, and naming layers properly is good, but when you're working with 100 200, even naming doesn't provide a very nice organized view. So what you can do is you can group them together. So basically now I don't have 100 200 layers right now, but what I'm going to show you, it works the same way. So you basically select all your layers. In this case they're just 2 layers, so I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to press Control G, and that's going to make one group. Now I can name this group like 2 images, and I can basically hide them and view them when I want. And that's how you can work really in an organized way when you're doing matte painting projects or graphic design. Like in my posters, in my flyers, we get so many layers, and without grouping, I don't know how can I manage my stuff. So believe me, grouping and this very basic knowledge of layers is very important for you to understand how Photoshop works. In this episode I explained you how does layers work and how do you make groups. And and yeah, the other way of creating groups is to basically let me just bring them out. And if you want to remove layers from a group, just select them and bring them out like this. And if you want to delete a group, select it and delete. So if you want to create a group in another way, select all your layers, take them and basically drop them onto this folder like icon, and boom, you have a group. So now you can rename the group. So again, this is very basics, but these basics are very important for you to become a professional graphic designer or a professional matte painting artist. My name is DJ Style. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you all next time. This is Cool Make Graphics. Make sure you subscribe, like this video on YouTube, and take care. I will see you all next time.